Good morning and welcome to the 10-minute book talk where three best-selling authors talk all things bookish with you for 10 short and sweet minutes. I'm Rachel Linden and I'm joined today by Katherine Reay and Marie Bostwick. And we have the distinct pleasure this morning of talking with Kimberly Brock about her beautiful new book, The Lost Book of Eleanor Dare. So Kimberly is joining us today from Atlanta, probably sunny and warm Atlanta. And we're excited to learn more about this very beautiful and very intriguing novel. So Kimberly, can you tell us just a little bit about the story?
So there are two mysteries in this story. One of them is the lost colony of Roanoke. So there's a little historical fiction to this book, but we don't know the conclusion of that story. It's the oldest American mystery. And then the other is a mystery that began in 1937. And this man tripped over a rock in North Carolina that had inscription. And it was right at the end of the Depression. And he threw it in his trunk because he thought it might be worth some money. And they went on their way and they made their way down into Atlanta near Emory College. They walked in and he said, "What do you think?" And everybody there lost their minds because they thought that the stone was inscribed with a message from Eleanor Dare, who would have been the governor's daughter at the lost colony of Roanoke, the mother of Virginia Dare, who most people know that name. Yep. And it said there'd been a massacre, that her husband and child and most of the colonists had been killed. She had survived along with a few other colonists. Mm-hmm. And basically it said, "Hey, Dad, come find us. We're headed this way." And so everybody thought that the mystery had been solved. A few years later, it was all debunked. There were 48 stones found. All of them were pretty shady, except the first one. Nobody has ever been able to prove or disprove its authenticity. And so when I learned about that stone and the idea that maybe Eleanor Dare had survived and had descendants, I began to imagine like what the story would have been, what story she would have wanted to pass down in her family to all of the women. And so there's 16 generations of women in this story. And the main timeline is 1945, right after the stones were all debunked. A mother and a daughter returning to a family home and kind of deciding what they believe about that story in their family. And it's contained in a big book. So Eleanor's book, her lost book.
Ooh, I've got chills.
Yeah, it's Southern fiction. It's kind of slow and low like barbecue.
I love the description. Oh my goodness. So you do have this incredibly strong theme of mother-daughter relationships and this legacy, family legacy in it. Unpack that a little more for us because it is so beautifully rendered. And I'd love you to tell readers just a little more.
Thank you. I just loved the idea. Well, first of all, it bothered me that maybe this story, because it was dismissed as a hoax, had been lost, and it was a woman's story. And I feel like so much of that happens with women's history, but also in families, we lose our stories. And between mothers and daughters, we don't necessarily tell our daughters everything. We sort of mete out what they need a little bit at a time. And sometimes we run out of time for some of the things that I, like in my family, I wish had been passed down or I wonder about. And so that's a big theme in this book about what we choose to tell, what we choose not to tell, and what do we do when we don't have the whole story.
Yeah. Ooh.
Wow.
Yeah.
I got to tell you, this sounds like it would be the best book club. That there is so
I think so.
It's just a lot going on here. And so book clubs, if you're looking for your next book club pick, check out The Lost Book of Eleanor Dare. But I got to tell you, now you're obviously very intelligent.
Oh, I don't know about that. I just have a big imagination.
I got to say, The Lost Colony of Roanoke, that is not in history's greatest hits, okay?
No, it is not.
Ross and the Flag. It's not, the bleeding feet as Washington crosses the Delaware. It's
right.
Not that. So when did you first find out about Roanoke and what was really drawing you? And are you always drawn to the weird historical stories?
Oh yeah. The weird stuff's what I like. And the thing about this, it's all strange. So I grew up north of Atlanta, and I never knew anything about the Dare Stones. I knew a little bit about the Lost Colony because, you know, my ears perked up when you tell kids in history class, like 5th grade, and they all disappeared. I mean, that was it. I was in, I wanted to know, but I was in my early 30s, I guess. This has been about 20 years ago. We were living in North Carolina at the time. I'd written my first book, and the internet was new. And my babies were sleeping. And so it was like having the library at home, like you could find anything. And I was just kind of doodling around, looking for something new to think about and write about. And I came across an article about the Dare Stones. And they are housed at Brenau University, about an hour from where I grew up and an hour from where I live now. And I did not know anything about this spectacle that occurred in the 1930s and early 40s. It was everywhere. It was all in the paper. It was everywhere, all over the world, and we know nothing about it. And I think it's because she was very inconvenient. Like you said, this was a failed colony, not just a colony of soldiers. You know, boys disappeared all the time, but this was women and children that disappeared. So I'm not sure just how hard they searched for Eleanor, what they made of that stone, or anything about what happened to that colony afterward. You can find so little about it in history. So most of what I did here was speculate about what I thought might have happened and where these women started and how they moved through history and generation after generation to Savannah, Georgia.
Fabulous.
A page turner.
It was fun just making it up. It was great.
That's awesome.
Well, I'm partway through. I'm so excited to get, after I turn in my next book on Sunday, then I have all the time. So I'm so excited to finish it.
To sleep. I hope you sleep.
I'll sleep and then I'll read and then I'll sleep. But the writing is also just beautiful. It pulled me in that first page. It pulled me in. I was like, okay, must not get sucked in, must write own book. This, but I am working my way through it because I think it's just lovely. So we highly recommending the lost book of Eleanor Dare by Kimberly Brock. Thank you so much for being with us. And I'm going to ask you the last question that we ask everybody, and that is, what is bringing you joy today?
Thank you so much for having me. This is bringing me joy. Also, we are getting a little bit closer with the remodel on this house that we bought during COVID, and it needs a lot of love. So
that's joy, though.
We put up drywall this weekend.
Drywall, it's joy. No one has ever said that before, but that is
but it does bring joy.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Kimberly, for being with us. Everybody check out the Lost Book of Eleanor Dare. Bye. Thank you. Tune in for more book fun next week.